So before we get into the meat of things, I just want to get your initial reaction to draft day so far, how the NHL set it up, because it is a bit of a different setup. I think it's more similar to what they usually do in the NBA, I think. But what are your thoughts about the way they set it up and the production value of today's NHL draft?
In a word, woof. Man, that was tough to watch.
Yeah.
Those Zoom calls were so uncomfortable. Like, normally you have the GMs and owners and stuff up there shaking hands, and it's just weird. And it seems like a weird environment. It feels like it takes away from that tension of like trades maybe happening and people like running from table to table, kind of making deals like off the phones as well as on the phones. Like, it just creates a really cool environment. Um, I get I get it, I guess, from an NHL standpoint. You can up the, sponsor dollars and the TV dollars and you drag it on forever. It feels like the longest first round in ever. Um, and it just felt difficult to watch as it continued. Um, I did obviously hang in there until the 15th pick because I needed to see what happened because we didn't know if they were going to trade it. We didn't know if they were going to use it. We didn't know who they were going to use it on. All signs pointed to another skinny mini Swede, but they finally went off the board. Maybe that was an Adam Foote call. Who knows, right? Like he knows the WHL
Mhm.
pretty well, given that he did coach the Kelowna Rockets in recent history. So, um, yeah, in the overall production value, I mean, the production value is great. They obviously threw a ton of money at it, but at the same time, it's like, do we really need to be the NBA? Like, we're the NHL for a reason, and let's kind of stay that way. There's obviously ways to update it, and there's different places they can have it. Like, you can have big venues, like you have it at the Sphere in Vegas or something, right?
Mhm.
Like, there's ways to do it with all the GMs there. I just think all the like via satellite TV, like it just makes it seem kind of hokey. You got so many older GMs and stuff, and they're looking at the screens, right, and not down the barrels of the camera, and it just makes it weird and uncomfortable because they look like they're looking off into space. So it's kind of like when we started and we were always looking like above our cameras,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And you have to get used because everything you learn about being on camera is don't look at the camera. Um, but yeah, it's it was interesting. I don't know. Good for them for trying something new, but this was a bit of a miss in my opinion.
I guess so. There was the moment when Ottawa was selecting, they couldn't chat with the actual prospect. But there was also a moment, I think it was the St. Louis pick, and they had some comedian someone Glazer, I don't really know her very well. But it was either more awkward when Steve Stais couldn't talk, or more awkward when Glazer was actually allowed to talk. I haven't decided yet, so that'll be up to you guys.
Yeah, the whole thing is just super awkward. Um, I don't know why they chose to do it the way they did, but man,
Well, let's
I
talk
know
about the fact the Canucks actually use their draft pick. So, your reaction to the
yeah.
Vancouver Canucks actually taking that pick?
Um, well, I mean, there's already been a report of Alvin, doing Alvin's thing and saying, "Oh, well, there weren't many trades happening with draft picks." But I've seen plenty of trades happening with draft picks all of a sudden, and of course, there's one we're going to talk about later in the Dobson trade. But I was shocked that they used it. But then I was even more shocked that they used it on someone that actually fills a need that they have coming up or could potentially have coming up, um, in the sense of a big 2C, basically, is his ceiling, I would say. Another leader. He was the youngest captain, I think, in WHL history, which is
Mhm.
incredible. To be chosen captain of the Canadian national World Junior team, and then go on to win gold medal and go 6-6, put up 12 points, 6 goals, 6 assists. So in a 7-game tournament, so showed up on the big stage, and all signs point to that he's an absolute dog and workhorse on the forecheck. And I've seen a couple clips of him. I haven't done a ton of research yet, but saw a couple clips of him penalty killing, and he is an absolute nose for the puck. He works hard to get it out of the corners. Thinks of himself more of a playmaker, but will shoot the puck when necessary. Is a right-handed shot, so that's nice to have a right-handed shot centerman in your lineup, because one thing that's difficult to find are right-handed shot players, in especially Canadian right-handed shot players. So a bonus there. Also, bigger bodied kid. He's 6 foot, 183 already, which is great. Adds some size to a forward group, a top six group that is lacking in that department. And also he's insulation for if Hedel can't really fill the role. Because we're not sure, right? Like, Hedel is supposed to be a 2C, but if he doesn't pan out in the next 2 years, then they have the right build for that role in the prospect pool now, which is great. They picked for a need rather than just going, this is the best player in this position. They went off the board a little bit and picked for something that they absolutely need coming up in a real hurry.
I mean, I think if there's anything we can say about this management group, regardless of what we've been seeing lately, the fact that the Abbey Canucks are Calder Cup champions, fifth youngest team in the AHL, and just even with this draft pick, right? They knew there was an organizational need, and they addressed that immediately with the pick. So they couldn't do anything with it to trade it, but they did bring in a young person who isn't necessarily going to be ready to go right now. But like you said, 2 or 3 years, maybe 2 years down the road, this kid might be ready to go to step in the lineup. And I remember while the talking heads were on their panel, they said straight up, this kid is going to be the future Canuck captain, which is a huge praise. And you can take it with a grain of salt from some of these Eastern media guys, but still a huge praise coming out of that panel for a young guy like that.
Well, and I hear that some of the Western analysts have been contacted by a lot of WHL guys saying that the Canucks got a hell of a pick, and it may be a sneaky little steal. So we'll see what happens. But we need more of that hard-nosed grit in our top six that has offensive talent and offensive upside. And he seems to be that type of player. Similar to what a Bo Horvat was, right? Like the same kind of makeup. So I'm really excited to see him develop.
Yeah. And also, which I didn't realize when they drafted him, but once I looked him up, playing out in Abbotsford at the Yale Hockey Academy. So maybe we're seeing
cool.
maybe he became a bit of a fan of the Vancouver Canucks with his little bit of time spent out there in Abbotsford. They did have a good little bit of a run when he was out here. So good to see that BC connection as well, and Canadian kid, which everyone thought, especially Big Hog, who reached out to me today and said, "Oh, Eklund's available," right before they picked, and they didn't. They ended up going with the Canadian kid instead of the slight Swede, which is probably at the end of the day a good choice for this organization.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's basically Lekkerimäki 2.0, right?
Yeah.
So Lekkerimäki hasn't even got in the lineup. Why do you need another one of those in the prospect pool right now? Regardless of where they're from, the body makeup and just another skinny, slender, speedy right winger just isn't something that this team needs at this moment. Doesn't matter if he has more skill. Like, they've drafted that way with the skill for what first round draft picks they've had recently. They've gone with the best player. We haven't really had any good high picks or anything like that in recent years, and we've traded away a lot of our picks. So for them to make this move and pick, if they're going to use the pick, I'm glad they used it on a player like Coots for sure.
Yeah, and a right-handed shot just to put the last little cherry on top, because obviously right-handed players can be a bit of a unicorn player in this NHL.
Definitely.
So other Canucks news today, which obviously hasn't been finalized. I don't think they can actually sign the deal until July 1st. But what we've been told by all the experts, Connor Garland extended, getting the classic Louis Eriksson contract, the 6x6. Will it be as bad as Louis Eriksson, or will it be a little better than that? Where do you put this contract signing for Connor Garland?
The numbers I don't hate. Like, that's the thing, is like I don't hate the contract. I think it's a great contract with the projected cap numbers over the next 4 years. It's going to age very well, along with Garland, and he's 29 years old, so that puts him at 34 when it expires, which isn't a huge, or 35 rather, isn't huge overcommitment to someone. He plays hard every game. The issue I have is just a little bit the timing of it. Given that, he's kind of a middle six forward, not really a top line guy. More suited for kind of a third line grinder, get in your face type of role where he makes it really hard for you to play. And for me, there's plenty of those guys that are cheaper and ready to kind of make the jump up from the farm, like especially given the run they just had and the show some of those guys put on in the playoffs. Linus Karlsson, 25 years old, is coming up on free agency. He's going to basically age out of being an RFA, and they're going to have to make a decision on him. Playoff point leader, did a great job being that net front presence, kind of grinder pest role. He's bigger than Garland, and it just sends a message that there's not really going to be a spot for these guys. And the other thing too is like, okay, you told Pius Suter you're not going to commit a penny more than $4 million to him. He's the same age as Garland, 29 years old. He's a center, has the ability to play second line center if you need him to, which is someone you're going to need this year with the question marks around Hedl. They may need to play back and forth. He had a career year, got 25 goals. And, I just think that some of the business that Alvin's been doing is kind of backwards. The Garland extension could have waited. They could have just said, okay, we're going to, move through a bit this year and see where we're at. If things aren't going great, then we might have to move you to another team, right? And so if this contract has like the ability to trade him, then I'm okay with it. But if it's a 6-6 and has an absolute no move clause, then I'm a bit like, well, what are you doing with the prospects? Because you don't want to trade them. You keep talking about how great they are and how valuable they are, and you're not giving them up and you're not including them in any trades. It's like, well, sooner or later, you got to shit or get off the pot, because these guys are just going to age out of their contracts and be free to go wherever the hell they want.
Swear jar.
I think we got 5 guys. Yeah, I think we got 5 guys that are eligible for arbitration this offseason as well. So it's like, we can't really go out and spend much money because we don't know how much some of those guys are going to be given, and if they're going to be maybe granted, contracts that don't have waivers, because some of them are getting older. Like it's there's a lot of juggling to do with some of those young guys as well. So, yeah, I'm not opposed to the extension of Garland. I'm just opposed to kind of the timing of it, and just the message it sends throughout the organization, and the message it sends to Pius Suter and to Besser, and it's like, yeah, that's all. Like, I don't have a problem with the numbers. I don't have the problem with Garland. I don't have any issues with the way this contract can age. I just have issue with the timing of it coming out, and the time it could have waited till well into the season to do this and put pen to paper.
Is there any part of you that's happy just with the fact that obviously it's the salary cap is going to be going up over the next couple of years? So it is 6x6, But we're talking 2 years down the road, suddenly you got $110 million to spend. And rather than being a 9 or an 8% of the cap, suddenly it's only like 5% of the cap. So then the number kind of looks better as it goes on as a result of just the salary cap increasing.
For sure. I mean, it doesn't kick in until I think OEL's buyout comes off, right? So
I think they'll have one more
we
year
have
left of
1 year.
OEL for that one too. Yeah, because
Okay.
OEL's got 2 more years left to be
So,
paid by us.
yeah, right. So we got 2 years. But it's the $4
$4.7
million that
million
kicks in.
a year for
Yeah,
2 years.
yeah.
That's what I'm mad about. That could have been Brock
It's
Besser.
the increase in the money, right? And so it's like, again, you're committing money that you don't really know that you're going to have, and I don't know. And then there's more talk too about signing more bottom six players, and it's like Bugstad and stuff like that. I'm like, no, we can't do this. We're already overloaded with like bottom six players, and some of them are going to have to be traded because they are going to have nowhere to play in the big club, and they're not going to want to sit around and rot in the AHL anymore because they all just won a championship, and that's the highest level you can go down there, and they're going to want more, and they're all going to be hungry for the NHL.
Before we hop over to the next point about Demko versus Shelovs, Major Dow showing up and dropping 5 gifted memberships in chat. Matt Winchester, my old chef, getting a free gift membership. No FF07. And then Sir getting one. Mr. Canadian 1455. And oh my lord, 666. Hail Satan. What? Getting a gifted membership on Nothing is Perfect. So thank you very much, Major Dow, for the 5 gifted memberships, dropping big dollars for Dobby's college education fund. Demko versus Shelovs. It's come down to this because we've heard the news that Demko is very close to signing an extension with the Vancouver Canucks. And along with that, we have heard the news that that means that Mr. Archer Shelovs is available for trade. So what do you want to comment on first? Demko's extension or Shelovs being shopped?
Well, I mean, it's like inevitable. If you do one, you got to do the other, right? If they're serious about extending Demko, then the writing is on the wall. And this again is what I mean about the backwards business. It goes back to all the way back to when they signed Miller to his extension before trading Bo Horvat.
Mm-hmm.
That extension didn't needed to be signed then. You could have left it and went into the season with both of them, just waiting for extensions. And instead of that, you went into the season with a disgruntled captain, and then you ended up trading him anyways. And everyone was worried about the emotional issues of JT Miller, and look at where we ended up. And this is kind of the thing again with the Demko stuff. It's like, do you extend an aging goalie and trust that he's going to stay healthy? Or do you give the 24-year-old who just won a Calder Cup a chance to be your backup and run Lankinen as your starter, or maybe run them as a tandem? Like if Shelovs didn't show you enough in this playoff run as an organization that he's ready to move on to the next level, then you need to trade him to another team. End of story. What doesn't need to happen is the Demko extension because he's under contract for another year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like this rush to extend guys the first day they're eligible for extension is just so weird to me. Like there's no real reason to do it. You have an entire year to extend them. You don't have there's no reason to do it other than it handcuffs you into, okay, well, of course you're going to trade Shelovs. So everyone's going to lowball you. Instead, you go out and trade him when his trade value is as high as it's ever going to be. You don't even talk about the Demko extension, and you move Shelovs to someone who needs a backup goalie next year, and include him in a package for something. But instead, it all comes out, and then that kind of screws you because now the other teams are going to be like, no way, I'll just wait. You got to choose first.
Does any part of you feel like the Canucks management is undervaluing the Abbotsford Canucks players, or is it a fact that maybe we're overvaluing the Abbey Canucks, or is there like Where are we sitting on that?
I think there's a case of Alvin overvaluing some prospects that are never going to make our lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Like he keeps talking high, like giving high praise to certain prospects, about how he doesn't want to trade them. He's not giving up certain pieces, and it's like, well, sometimes you have to give to get. Like you do have to give something up to get things in a trade. Like everyone thought he got lowballed in the Miller trade because he let a locker room situation spiral out of control and get public. And I mean, Miller picked New York. It was the only team he was willing to go to. So yeah, he did a good job in stealing from what all we can see in Mancini. And like from what I've seen, Alvin has done a fantastic job in the drafting arena and like the prospect arena and bringing prospects in. He has a good eye for talent. But when it comes to the organization of his business and how he conducts the steps that he takes as a GM, it's really just created a bad environment for players. Like it's one of the reasons why I can't blame free agents for not wanting to come here. You sign a big extension and suddenly you're going to be traded, or like you're going to be asked to be traded. Like no one wants that uncertainty. No one there's question marks about what went on in the locker room because no one's really being honest about it. So agents are going to ask right away, and they're going to want the truth. And it may scare players away from coming here. Like I've seen all over online from analysts that the Canucks are pretty much on everyone's no trade list. No one wants to come to this organization that's in a free fall right now.
You can say, Dustin, God-forsaken organization. You can say it. You can say God-forsaken organization.
Yeah, it's just like I'm just so confused at some of the things that happen and the moves that he makes or doesn't make. Same with the Kane trade, right? Like we've talked about it and we kind of tried to get positive about it, but then we get reminded about things like the hissy fit he threw in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals and swinging his stick all over the place trying to take Kachuk's head off. And then when he gets ejected from the game, is like, no, I'm not coming out to shake hands. Screw those guys, right? And it's just like, do we want that kind of culture coming to our room? Like, did he really mature in 2 weeks? Like from Game 6, all it showed was that he was still Evander Kane. I have a hard time getting past that, and I just don't know if that's like, I get that it's a 1-year thing, and if he's just a hockey player, yeah, he's great, but like, man, what are we doing? Like, this team has absolutely no identity, and like, we're screaming to find a top center, and we just keep going after wingers or left-handed defensemen. Like, yeah, let's bring in Byram. Who gives a shit about left-handed defensemen right now? We have so many freaking left-handed defensemen. Like, where's he gonna play?
Okay, Dustin.
And who are you gonna trade?
Okay, Dustin.
Like, I don't want to trade anyone.
Dustin's head's gonna pop. We gotta get on to something positive. All right. Positive news. And I teased this one, but I didn't really tell anyone what we were talking about. But apparently, Manny stays. The Dallas Stars, they got 2 candidates left. And on the short list, 2 candidates, neither one of them, Manny Malholtra. So it looks like the extension or the 1-year option the Canucks have with Manny Malholtra will be used. And he will be back as coach for the Abbotsford Canucks next year.
Yes, all signs point to Dallas going back to Glenn Gulutzon, someone who the organization is familiar with. So yeah, great news that he's not even on their short list. Yes, that makes me much happier, and thank you for bringing Mount Dustin back down to earth.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like the only reason the Canucks can have nice things is when an external force forces it on them. And we're all worried about Manny getting taken away. But by a lot of the, the outside sources on this subject, we're saying, yeah, Manny Malholtra, really, really high, obviously, in Canucks fans' eyes right now. Obviously, especially after the Calder Cup win. But I don't know if there was as much value externally as we were seeing it. So kind of one of those things that maybe a bit of a hometown bias on him, but we'll take that. We don't care if we're a little bit biased because we got to keep Manny Malholtra.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's not a lot of eyes from like outside towns watching AHL coaches, right? Like that closely. Like they may bring them in for an interview if they like hear they're available, but he's not really available. So, I mean, it'd be different if it was like some star coach that's won like 3 straight Calder Cups or something like that, right? Like, so I get why externally he's not looked at as highly. But yeah, like we'll keep him. I don't care. He's great insulation to have if foot doesn't pan out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's knock on wood because, you know, we don't need a, what is it, like a 6th coach for this core and whatever it is. Yeah. Let's not move on to that yet.
No, we're in foot. We're going to trust right now. Right.
Yeah.
And 3 rookie assistant coaches. Or no.
No, just 2. 2 of them are rookies. One of them has
Kevin Dean.
Yeah. So a couple big trades happening. One happened today. One happened yesterday, I think it was. At the NHL Draft today, we'll talk about the one that happened today. Noah Dobson getting moved for the 2 picks, and also Emil Heineman, who's a forward. So Noah Dobson will be going to the Montreal Canadiens. So he's off the board. Probably a big move for those Montreal Canadiens who did play in the playoffs last year. We're probably lacking a little bit of defensive depth. So giving away those 2 draft picks they had and giving them over to the Islanders, I guess, to make them have 3 in 1 round. Is this a good move? Do you like this move for the Montreal Canadiens?
I don't know. They got a lot like they got Hudson there and Dobson now and they neither one really plays defense. So yeah, we'll see how that happens. It's a lot of hard work for Gooley, I think, to kind of insulate over there now, those 2. But yeah, I mean, obviously Canadians picked up a great player, right-handed right D, so I mean they're pretty coveted in the NHL. But again, it's like, okay, well, a trade happened with draft picks, Salvine. What are you talking about that it wasn't really going on? Like, this is where he says all these things about like nothing's happening. You know, the offers for Besser would have embarrassed you. It's like, well, tell us one of them. Like, don't just say all these things like, oh, there's no market. You know, it just the things they just weren't there, and yeah, well, that's pretty much all we ever get from him.
What do you think about the extension? Because we've talked about Alvin's extensions. The Montreal Canadiens immediately signing him to a fat deal.
Yeah, no, that's way too much money for a guy who had 1 good year.
Will it be Darnell Nurse bad or Louis Eriksson bad?
Ooh, I don't think it'll be Darnell Nurse bad.
No.
That one's gonna hurt the Oilers for a while.
Yeah.
Especially because the cap goes up and stuff like that, but it could handcuff them down the road when it comes to like Lane Hudson, and players like that, right? Like it's you know, they're gonna have to re-up Nick Suzuki, I think, soon. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. So you know, it's a risky game to play with a new guy just coming in, and you risk pissing off some of your guys that are already there. And they're all going to want a certain amount of money. You know, you set kind of a bar when you do that. And so, you know, what are you going to pay Hudson when he's up? Like, you know what I mean? Because I guarantee you when he's 25, his numbers are going to be a lot better than Noah Dobson's.
The other trade that happened, and it was just the other day, Utah making another splash. The Mammoth getting JJ Peterka out of Buffalo. And they sent back Doan and Kesselring. The thing I said earlier today, Kesselring would be a very similar pick up to like a Mancini. So big, strong, right-handed defenseman. Obviously, Doan is the son of former Phoenix Coyote, Winnipeg Jet, Josh Doan. So not exactly like his father, maybe has a little bit of the same skill as his father, but maybe not as defensively as responsible. But that, I mean, he is still young too. How are you feeling about this pick or this trade between these two teams?
This was an interesting one too. Hearing some of some of the trades that Buffalo turned down.
Mm-hmm.
It was clear that they were looking for a right-handed defenseman, which makes sense. I mean, they have Darlene, Power, and Byram on their left side, unless they move Byram.
Mm-hmm.
And then they didn't really have any big physical defensemen anywhere really in their lineup. Everyone's kind of offensive minded. So it was a big need for them. And Kesselring's kind of like a one off, right? He's 6'4", right hand shot. Those guys are really tough to come by in the NHL. And then obviously you kind of have like a middling prospect who you don't know how high their ceiling is. It's going to depend on his development a little bit. Obviously, he will likely get more of a shot in Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
given that they don't really have anything in the prospect pool, because they traded a lot of their picks away over the years, more so than Vancouver. And I mean, I saw I saw a full team that could have been the Buffalo Sabres, like just from like 2020 to now.
Yeah.
And it like is absolutely mind blowing who they've traded away from that team. And they are just still horrible. And I heard today that they're shopping Thompson.
Send him our way.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I think Buffalo got a couple of good players there, but again, not players that are gonna fix everything for them. And Peterka, again, getting a huge extension, which is probably a lot to do with where he was kind of, choosing to go, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really have a choice, but, likely played into, okay, well, we're not going to flip him, right? Like Buffalo probably wanted to hear that he was going to get extended if they do trade him because, he is a flippable player, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, another kind of big contract for a guy who really hasn't had consistent successful years. It was 1 year this last year, so we'll have to see what Peterka brings to that Utah Mammoth. I mean, they're going to be young and fast and have a lot of skill, that's for sure. Um, but again, he was feeding off of a couple of big boys like Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck and playing behind those guys. So getting some good matchups because all the main defensemen are focusing on those top two lines.
Dusty, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We are planning on going live tomorrow night. I didn't ask you about that. Are you going to be around for tomorrow night to see if anything crazy happens on day 2 of the draft?
I will be home in the evening. Yes.
Cool.
So if anything crazy happens in Canuckland, or if there's like a major NHL trade that we absolutely have to talk about, I will for sure be here.
Cool. Sounds good. I'll send you a message. Anything you want to say to chat before I let you go?
Oh, have a great rest of your night and enjoy your weekend. Thanks as always for dropping by. Appreciate the questions. And yeah, maybe next time the top will blow right off of the mountain, but we'll have to save that for another day.
Stay tuned, kids. Cool. Have a great night, Dusty. We'll
Have a
talk
good night,
soon.
man. Yeah, you too.
Nothing is perfect.